with Colorado, flipping to Colorado as a junior college prospect. So a guy that, had a chance to maybe contribute a little bit earlier in his career than a typical high schooler. So, they're able to land Fugar. And then another talented player at a position of need in Jerron Willis. Quick calendar update, Wes, in terms of recruiting, by the way, because you mentioned the dead period for high schoolers. There was a short window where transfers, whether it's JUCO kids or transfers, could visit. That was the 4th through the 8th. That is now over, of course, since it's the 9th. So we are now back in the contact period, and that is where coaches can go back out on the road. Players can come and visit a college campus from the high school ranks even as well. So there'll be more activity that takes place this month now that we're back in the contact period until the end of the month.
Yeah, so something to keep an eye on this coming weekend as we'll see what direction South Carolina takes. You know, maybe there's some more high school offers out there as well. We've seen that happen with Elijah Caldwell from Northwestern up in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Big fan of that offer, by the way, Chris. I've kind of had my eyes on him for a while as a player.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just felt like one of those players that is a little bit under the radar, but that if you're South Carolina, you're willing to take a little bit of a chance on because you don't want to let in-state guys leave your state. And he was committed to West Virginia at one point, made the very sharp decision, I think, to decommit, let his recruitment play out a little bit more. Since then has added, of course, South Carolina offer, has added an NC State offer in there. I think Georgia Tech, a couple other schools that have offered too. So a guy to watch, I think, as far as high school ranks. And really, I mean, there's only, I was about to say a handful. It's probably less than that. I mean, you look at him, you look at Nick Harbor. Those are the pretty much the main two guys we're even focused on right now as far as high school prospects go. But right now, it's really all about the portal. And I think, and getting a head start on 2024 and even 2025 in some instances. But, let's go back to the two guys we were just talking about that they landed. And, let's talk about Willis because I think adding another linebacker and, I think it's worth pointing out the portal guys, you sort of have to consider the eligibility that's left as well when you talk about impacts. And, there could be a position where you may say, all right, this guy has 1 year of eligibility left, but there's a huge need at this position. And this is a guy who has played a ton of ball. And you're just saying, so 1 year is just like a team in the professional ranks going out there, signing a guy for a year and sort of acting as a stopgap, basically.
The 1 year deal.
Exactly. It's the same thing. And then the other side, you look at Fugar at O-line, 3 years of eligibility left. Then you, of course, look at Willis, 4 years of eligibility left. And I don't think there's necessarily an expectation there that either guy has to come in and play right away, especially Fugar. I think he's an SEC sized, SEC athlete, but I don't, I think, you get him in, you see where he's at, but if he doesn't play right away, that doesn't mean it's a bust. With Willis, I think there's going to be every opportunity for him to come in and play right away. But I think we also have to remember he's a redshirt freshman. He's still, quote, young guy. So I think it adds value over time that this guy's going to come in and be in your system for a while, potentially. The other side is if he can go ahead and play early and be in that rotation, they replace two linebackers, then it's not like you got a guy for just 1 year. You're going to have him in your defense for several years.
Yeah, it's a great point where I look at the classic example, a really good example from even this cycle at South Carolina locally is tight end, to illustrate your point, because obviously that room completely cleared out. You wouldn't want to take 5 guys that are all 1 year players or even 5 guys that are 2 year players. But you look at what they have they have some guys from the recruiting class who are high schoolers who are going to enter with a full 5 to play 4 slate. And then you have some transfers. So you have Trey Knox, who's that 1-year guy, like you mentioned. He has a red shirt, but he's not going to use it at South Carolina. He's that 1-year guy. So let's use a Braves example. He's Charlie Morton, and Reed McKeska is Spencer Strider. Like it's a guy you've got a full slate with. So you bring in Trey Knox 1 year, Nick Elkson has 3 years, Josh Simon has 2, and then you got some guys from the high school ranks, and you got Harbor still out there. So you kind of you replenish your room and do what you need from that standpoint. But you've got kind of a mix where it's not all high school guys or all 1-year guys. So you look at linebacker, there is an immediate need there. You lose 2 6-year starters. You could still upgrade the position from a numbers, depth, talent standpoint, but you need kind of a mix of being able to bring along some of your younger guys. Like if Donovan Westmoreland, for example, makes a giant leap next year and can be a rotation guy and play even more snaps than he did this year, pretty limited on that front, great. But do you want to completely count on that? Maybe not. And so Jerron Willis is a guy that physically, Wes, brings a lot of tools. Like you go back and look at his high school tape, talk to some people who saw him at Ole Miss. He only played in 1 game this year, but he's going to get to South Carolina with 4 on-field years to play. So you hope he can contribute next year. He physically has the attributes to be able to give you something on special teams, give you some level of snaps at linebacker. But you do have, I don't want to say the luxury, but you do have some ability to be able to say he doesn't have to do everything in terms of his final impact in year 1.
I think you look at Jerron Willis, man, too, and it's for one, not that the high school rankings necessarily should be considered 1-to-1 when it comes to transfer portal rankings. Like I think especially in the case of a guy who maybe has been at a school for a while, and he's sort of at that point, he's played his way into whoever he is as a player. So was he a 4-star, but now we're talking 3 or 4 years down the road? I don't really care if he was a 4-star or not. If he was a 2-star, but he's played his way into an all-conference guy, don't really care that he was a 2-star. However, a guy like Jerron Willis, just very recently, he, last year was a 4-star recruit, and you are talking about a player or talking about a position, I should say, that Carolina traditionally has not been able to land these highly regarded guys at. So, number 21 linebacker in the country in his class, according to the On3 consensus, number 209 overall prospect in that class, out of Lee County High School, Leesburg, Georgia, same school as Juju McDowell, which obviously, from what we were told, played a part in this as well. But Chris, he will instantly, when he arrives, and he'll be here for spring practice, instantly be one of the more highly recruited guys South Carolina has had at that position, not just on their current roster, but really one of the more highly recruited guys in a long time. I'm looking, Pup is number 18 in this class. So,
Yeah.
as excited as everybody is about Pup, these guys are actually somewhat similar. Pup a little bit more highly regarded, 186 in the country. On3 is actually even higher on Pup, 164 in the country. But the potential there, you've really added 2 super talented guys, and I think that's something fans are pretty excited about.
People have been clamoring for South Carolina to land a guy like this. I feel like there would be more excitement if USC had landed him straight out of high school for some reason, as opposed to a transfer. And, I don't know why that is. Maybe you don't have, you have the 1-year gap really in between when he attended, when he came out of the recruiting cycle, which was just last recruiting cycle. It's 2022. And then he didn't go to Ole Miss and say, tear it up in year 1. I don't really know why it is. But you're right. I mean, from a ranking standpoint, you remember how excited folks were about, Stone Blanton was a 4-star guy, but he was the 30th ranked linebacker in the country, according to the On3 consensus. Nicky Minwari was actually ranked as a linebacker by the On3 consensus, but number 33 nationally. So everybody kind of points to Sky Moore as like I don't say the last, but like one of the last like big time kind of highly ranked linebackers that South Carolina got. And even he wasn't a 5-star. Even he wasn't a top 10 linebacker in the country. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see, how quickly he can take to things and the type of impact he may be able to have in year 1. Any way you slice it, I think is a really nice pickup.
Yeah, and Sky, a late riser in the rankings, if I remember correctly.
Right.
We'll keep talking about that. We'll talk national title, a lot more recruiting stuff on the other side. We'll be right back.
This is Damon Amendolara with your CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by Angie. It's easier than ever to get home projects done well. Get started at Angie.com. There is no more dysfunctional gutter than the Houston Texans right now. A head coach that was basically fired, coached aggressively yesterday, and won a game, costing them the top pick. This is Damon Amendolara.
How long does it take to tackle a home project? With Angie, you could cross it off your list before this ad is over. Just tell us what you need, indoor or outdoor, repair or redesign, and we handle the rest, sending a top pro to get it done. You don't have to lift a finger, except to tap the screen or click the mouse. Plus, Angie is free to use. So bring us your next home project, and we'll bring it home. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started.
Hey, y'all, this is your girl, Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at Metamucil.com today.
Experience the future of connectivity with Spectrum One. You get Spectrum Internet, delivering the fastest speeds in the nation for $49.99 a month. Advanced Wi-Fi for enhanced privacy and security, free for 12 months. And a Spectrum mobile line with unlimited talk, text, and data, plus nationwide 5G, free for 12 months. That's Spectrum One. Visit Spectrum.com or your local Spectrum store today. Offer subject to change. Valid for qualified residential customers only. Service not available in all areas. Restrictions apply.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Wow, 2022 flew by, but I sure am ready for 2023. My favorite way to start the new year is to make my home feel like new with Zerez carpet and air duct cleaning. Only Zerez uses the advanced, patented process with ZR water for superior, long-lasting clean. Right now, get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 plus. Mention me, Bill Gunner, at 1075 The Game, and you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. Easily schedule your cleaning online at ZerezColumbia.com.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 1075 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs.
Founded by firemen with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell.
On the home of the Gamecocks.
1075 The Game.
Welcome back. Talking a little transfer portal. I'm Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark. When we get out of here, Chris, it will be lunch time, which means it is time for the sub of the day. This show is pretty much possible because of Firehouse. What are we looking at today? And I'm not even looking. It is Monday.
You saw I checked my watch, make sure what day it was.
Got to be Meatball Monday.
It is Meatball Monday. That's an easy one to remember.
Yes.
Meatball Monday. You can get it at any one of the 14 Midlands Firehouse Subs locations. That is $5.99 for a small or $7.99 for a medium sub of the day. And Wes, they have that every single day of the week. Sometimes you go places and it's like, no, we only have this Monday through Wednesday or Sunday from 12 to 3. No, every single day, Monday through Sunday, Sunday through Monday, however you want to think about it, at Firehouse Subs, there is a sub of the day that you can get. Just ask for it. They have signs usually in there, or check it out online. You can order at firehousesubs.com with the Rapid Rescue. Download the Firehouse Subs app make sure you join their awesome rewards program. Or if you text us here on the station at 1075 The Game, the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-446-100 with your Gamecock football takes or whatever it may be, you will get a link back to orders. So make it easy to order the sub of the day. Check that out at any of the 14 Midlands locations of Firehouse Subs.
Chris, we're going to have all off season to talk about depth charts and positions and who's going to win battles. And
depth chart season will be fun next year.
I love depth chart season. And I even love the conversation about, do depth charts matter?
Yep.
Which I believe they do. Now, depending on where you are, depending on who the coach is, depending on how tight of a ship they like to run, depth chart, the public depth chart can vary in how much it means. However, the depth chart, which is who lines up first in practice with the first team defense and who runs out there second and who runs out there third, absolutely matters. And, I think with the portal, you can start to kind of put the pieces together already. And there were a couple of questions, I think, where we were already saying, and there still are, but where we're already saying, all right, this position probably will feature somebody that's not on the roster yet.
Yeah.
And I think you look at linebacker, the addition of Jerron Willis, it gives you some guys, it gives you some options, is what I'm trying to say. And so, as you talked about before, they lose their 2 starting linebackers. That is a position where I think we all know Carolina has got to put itself in a spot to upgrade its run defense. And I think now you look at Mo Kaba coming back. Hopefully he can get back to full health.
Yep.
You wish that for him just on a personal level as much as anything, because he had set himself up to be in a great position last year to be, I believe, South Carolina's leading tackler on defense. So you have him back. You enter Pup Howard into the mix. He feels like a I'm not going to be denied type guy.
Yeah.
He's going to be on the field. Starter, maybe. Rotation, certainly. You go, he's a guy I think can play either spot. Mo Kaba's got enough experience. He can play either spot. They both sort of profile to me as middle linebackers, potentially, from a communication standpoint. Jerron Willis told Gamecock Central he'd play either spot. He'd learn both spots, but the focus appears to be the will linebacker spot. I think, and I believe you wrote this as well, I think that fits.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Stone Blanton coming back, a year under his belt. Debo Williams coming back, a couple years under his belt. You mentioned Donovan Westmoreland. So this Bam Martin Scott, don't forget him. I think if you're South Carolina, you all of a sudden feel pretty good about filling out a depth chart here in your base 4-2-5, but also feeling comfortable putting 3 linebackers on the field at times, which is something we saw them do in the bowl game a lot more than we had seen for almost any other portion of the season.
Yeah, I mean, you ran through all the names there and varying, degrees of experience, different skill sets. One thing I think you can take notice of is, athletically, there's some things to like here. I mean, Bam Martin Scott is a big, long, rangy type of guy who kind of came on at various points in the season. Donovan Westmoreland was a guy that, played everything from safety to defensive tackle, a very undersized defensive tackle, I'll add, at his high school, and has kind of gotten his feet wet on special teams and a few snaps. So I think Kaba is a huge, and I haven't heard anything to indicate this, right? But when you have a guy who has 2 ACL tears, one in high school, one in college, it's natural to just ask the question, hey, will he be fine long-term from a health standpoint? Certainly, I hope so. I think it's fair to ask that, though, but I think that question is really pretty critical because, as you pointed out, I think it's easy to forget how impactful he was going to be on this defense. They really missed Jordan Strong at edge. They really missed Mo Kaba. I mean, he had been the best linebacker on the team and had made, all indications were, and the evidence showed, he made a huge leap from last season, had a big offseason, looked poised to have a really productive season. So you mentioned coming in that Gamecock fans and probably really the staff has been counting on a couple guys that weren't yet on the roster looking towards next year. And I think you look at the 2 names that are the newest additions to the linebacker scholarship chart on Gamecock Central is Jerron Willis and Pup Howard, who, of course, went through some bowl practices with South Carolina, and we'll go through spring practice as well. But those are the two new additions that weren't on the team this year that I think could factor in pretty prominently to this equation.
So the point I was initially trying to, y'all know I take some different routes sometimes, that I was eventually trying to get to is the defensive end / as South Carolina calls it, edge position. Last week, that conversation dominated by one Jordan Birch and the exit of Jordan Birch. And what does it mean for South Carolina? And what did we talk about, Chris? We talked about that position, and that exit is going to be mostly judged, at least the impact of it will be judged by how does Carolina perform at that position next year? Who do they add at that position this offseason? And lo and behold, entering the transfer portal on Sunday evening, Trajan Jeffcoat, an SEC guy, been at Missouri for multiple years now, 2020 All-SEC guy, and who went to high school right down the road from where Chris lives at Irmo High School, lists his hometown as Columbia, South Carolina on his official bio on Missouri, on their website. So we don't need the little meme of the guy from what's the show? Where he's connecting all the strings and dots and all this. We don't need any detective work to put these pieces together.
Yep.
That there's a possibility of Jeffcoat returning home, because it just makes too much sense. We'll just put it like that.
Yep.
What would you think of the potential addition of Trajan Jeffcoat to South Carolina in terms of filling what is now a very obvious need on this defense?
I think it'd be we're past Christmas, but it'd be like Santa Claus came to town, really, with this guy entering the portal. Lots of experience. 47 games played in his career. Actually, Missouri, as we saw, Missouri was really good on defense last year. And he still started 10 games last season. He's been a starter for much of his career. He had an all-SEC, first-team all-SEC selection by the Associated Press and the league's coaches in 2020, which, anytime, Wes, for me, the league's coaches pick a guy, I'm even more inclined to take a closer look at that. So lots of experience, local kid, size 6'4", 269 is what he's listed at. Anybody who's watched Missouri and South Carolina games past few years, he's been disruptive in some of those contests. So he has the size to hold up against the run. He has pass rush ability. He has a lot of experience, and he's local. So, like you said, makes too much sense, and would be, I think, a really good get. Not a multi-year guy, in terms of wouldn't arrive with a full slate of eligibility, but certainly someone who could step right into this team.
Well, I think it takes a little pressure, if it happens, off of Montague Rames, off of Dez Umeozulu, and those are guys I think are the future of that position at South Carolina, if things go to plan. You never know how things happen. But if you want to project it out, those two guys are the future of that spot. But you don't want to have to just throw them in there and force them in there. If Jordan Strong is able to get his extra year, there's positive vibes that he will, then you could bring in Jeffcoat. And I don't even discount the push of getting to come back home and play for a school potentially that I'm sure he would have liked to have played for. Carolina flirted with the idea of offering Jeffcoat quite a bit. And, his tackling numbers aren't like through the roof. Not that you necessarily judge a defensive end or edge guy based on that. That year you talked about, 2020, had some big sack numbers that year. But you're also talking about a Missouri defensive line that shared the wealth. Like, these guys were incredibly disruptive across the board, and he was a part of that for multiple years. So if Carolina could pull that off, just perfect fit. Very rare are things just perfect fits. This one is. It would just make complete sense all the way around. So that's something we'll be tracking. And we'll talk a little bit about that again on the other side of the break, but also national championship tonight, Georgia, TCU. Does TCU have a shot in this game? We'll talk about that and more on the other side.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs.
Founded by firemen with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell
On the home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
Hey, I'm Jenny Sturm. I'm with Sturmy Plumbing. Call my dad if you have any slow drains, clogged drains, leaky pipes, runny toilets, runny sinks, or no hot water. Call Sturmy Plumbing for all of your service and repair needs. 803-201-2689. At Sturmy Plumbing, where we make your gray skies blue.
This is Lisa with Stormy Plumbing. I look forward to hearing from you. Please call us at 803-201-2689. Thank you.
We keep the clutter out of your gutter. Call on the gutter man.
The Guttermen have been providing top-notch service throughout the Midlands for over 47 years, building their business on relationships, not gimmicks. And you can call them locally, not a 1-800 number. Call them today at 791-7147 and look for the guys in the powder blue trucks.
We keep the clutter out of your gutter. Call on the gutter man.
If you work with one of South Carolina's 5,700 manufacturing companies, you're part of something really cool. Hey, this thing is cool. Even this HR guy is cool. But he needs help updating his employee training programs. We can help you with that. At SCMEP, we know that manufacturing is complex, and that if one part gets out of step, everything stops. Definitely not cool. We have the resources to help your operations thrive. Now that's cool. Visit scmep.org.
Sponsored by SCMEP. I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Go to nomoredraftywindows.com for full offer details.
Attention all homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? It's time to replace. Fog between the glass. Time to replace. Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's definitely time to replace. If you've put off replacing windows in your home because it's too expensive, here's great news. You can now get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen, the company with the most 5-star reviews among leading full-service window replacement companies. And right now, you can save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. Just text RENEW to 200-300 for your free consultation on top-quality affordable windows or patio doors for $0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for a year. That's right. You don't pay a dime for an entire year. Plus, save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. But hurry, these big dollar savings end this month. Text RENEW to 200-300 right now. Text the word RENEW to 200-300. Don't wait. Text RENEW to 200-300.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now, but I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WIN for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code WIN for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code WIN.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs.
Founded by firemen with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell
On the home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
College football national championship tonight. TCU, Georgia. Chris, this is a Gamecock show, but it's a college football show, and we have not talked about the biggest game in college football really at all the last couple of weeks. So I want to dive into that here. Of course, Georgia, a fairly big favorite in this game, nearly 2 touchdowns. And Chris, I got to ask you first personally, man. Where's your excitement level for the game? I feel like I haven't dialed in yet. I'm hoping when this thing kicks off tonight that I'll be there, that I'll be locked in. It's going to take a lot for it to live up to what we saw a couple of weekends ago in the 2 semifinal games. And, man, I can't help but think like maybe we see a better game if the games last week end a little bit differently. I kind of think Georgia is going to win this thing. I think the last game is maybe a little bit of a wake-up call for them. However, I just want to see a great game. I'd love if it's anything close to what we saw on New Year's, then I'm here for it. But where's your head at, man?
Well, we're up on the TV just now that we've got here in the studios. It mentioned lopsided matchup ? And like on paper, yeah, but the results of the games last week in the semis, frankly, surprised me. Like I didn't expect Georgia to have as much trouble stopping Ohio State as they did. C.J. Stroud, the Buckeyes quarterback, was on. They did a lot of good things in the run game and the pass game. Made some mistakes offensively, of course, Georgia did, that kept Ohio State in that game. And then, TCU, a lot of the talk going into that game was, Michigan is going to just line up and smash them in the running game. I mean, some of their players even got themselves in trouble, so to speak, by saying that. And that made sense to think that. Like, TCU hadn't really seen anything like that all year, but as it turns out, they handled it quite well, handled adversity well. This is a pretty special TCU team, obviously. Their quarterback's a warrior, got really good players on offense. Defensively, they're scrappy. I think they've overachieved there. So I'm still excited about it. I think probably, honestly, not as much as last weekend, but I think I'll get there by tonight. I'm with you. I feel like Georgia's going to rebound and play better defensively this week than they did last week. But in TCU, they're no pretender. They didn't just kind of stumble in here. They didn't get lucky. They've come out and earned it this season, and they clearly belong. I would pick Georgia for sure, though.
Did you see the shot in the game last week with the Michigan lady? Beautiful camera work. They just happened to catch her. She turns to what I'm assuming is her husband and just says, maybe they are good. I was like, she just summed up what people have thought about TCU all season long. Like, maybe they are good. Like they have been doubted literally the entire season.
Yeah.
And I think analytically, you look, ESPN, they just popped it up. FPI says 73% chance that Georgia wins this game. That's probably right.
Yeah.
That percentage-wise, they play 4 times. TCU, maybe wins once.
Might steal one.
So, yeah, that's sort of how I see it. Like, chances are Georgia wins the game, but this TCU team they've had that sense of destiny about them to where they have played in so many tight games this year, and they've been behind in so many games this year. And, you have 2 quarterbacks that I feel like they almost have 2 quarterbacks that you feel like are not going to let their team lose. So when you have that on both sides, with Max Duggan and Stetson Bennett, then it could, I could be dead wrong and not being excited about it yet. I would love for these two just to duel it out and make something happen. But I think a lot of that will be determined by, can TCU's front keep Georgia's defense from just mauling them up front?
Yeah, that is going to be a key. And I'm with you. I want a close game. I want to see some scoring. Saw some scoring in the semis. It's always more fun. We're a far cry nowadays in college football from the Alabama LSU SEC title games where it was 6-3 or whatever. Like, there was a place for that. I think we're past it. I think I'm past it. I want to see 45-42, 51-47. I want to see games like that. And so these teams are certainly capable of putting up big points. So hopefully we see that. Also, I mean, what a job by Sonny Dykes. Sonny Dykes, Wes, remember, was in the mix somewhat for South Carolina's open job after the 2015 season. He got an interview. He was one of a really interesting list of coaches that interviewed. Honestly, kind of a very, very interesting bag of coaches. Lincoln Riley, Sonny Dykes, Willie Taggart, Greg Schiano, a lot of interesting guys. Sonny Dykes also, sidebar, some really interesting thoughts on NIL this week. I think he made a great point. He said basically that because everybody ignored student athlete welfare and letting them monetize and things like that for so long, that states got involved, and now kind of here we are, and he sees it as a good thing. So he's obviously done a great job with that team in terms of building the coaching staff. And this is 5-7 team last year, and now they're playing for a national title tonight.
One big thing to watch there, TCU starting running back Kendre Miller has a sprained MCL, right knee. It is about half healed, according to ESPN. 50-50 chance that he plays or doesn't play. He is 1 yard short of 1,400 yards rushing this season. Absolute stud, man. This, I don't know what's up with CFP teams losing their top backs. Obviously, Michigan faced the same thing going into the CFP a couple weeks ago. So that feels big. And running back, even if he can go, not being 100% and playing with a knee issue, just feels like a big factor to me. So we'll see. A lot of this is going to be on quarterback play, receiver play for TCU. An interesting note here too, man. I follow this guy. If y'all care about analytics at all, if you're a Twitter person, follow Stats O War on Twitter. Stats O War. The guy's name is Parker, and he puts together these like box score predictions, advanced stat preview, I guess he calls it, and surprisingly accurate. This is I found this guy, the Muschamps last year at South Carolina, when his box score predicted South Carolina to knock off Auburn before the game.
I remember that. And
nobody else on the planet was really predicting that. His system has 78% Georgia winning, so even a little bit higher than ESPN. Surprisingly low scoring. Now, this is purely by the numbers. His says 26.6 for Georgia, 15.7 points by TCU.
True. Okay.
That would be somewhat surprising in my mind. And also, as a fan of the game, a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, and that goes back to what I said earlier, man. I want to see a higher scoring game than that. 27 and 15, or 26 point something and 15 point something.
Yeah, basically 27-16 if you round it up.
And the over-under, according to Vegas, I think is about 63 and a half points.
63 and a half right now.
That would be, and even that's a little low. I mean, that's not 42 to 45, as I said earlier. So, yeah, that'll be interesting.
Did you watch the ball drop as you watched the field goal?
Dude,
or were you
don't get me started.
Were you asleep?
No, I made it. We made it in the Clark household. But we had to like pause watching. We had to go back and like rewatch the ball drop, basically, like a recreation almost
of the ball drop, not the field goal.
Yeah, we watched the field goal. You're like, do we ring in the new year or watch the field goal? And obviously, Clark household, we chose the field goal.
Yeah, we had the field goal on the TV and the ball dropping on the iPad.
We had the phone ball drop. So but it was hard to like really be present with both.
Yeah, but I felt like it was really one of those cool moments though, where you're just like,
kind of cool.
How did this happen that it happens at the exact?
I told my wife, I was like, this game is going to be going on when the ball drops. She's like, oh.
Yeah, you won that one.
They got there. Well, no, I shouldn't have brought that up. Now you're trying to get me in trouble on there.
Yeah, she does listen a lot too. So sorry, Carolyn. You won, Carolyn. Chris didn't say that. When I asked earlier, does TCU have a shot? Michael weighs in on our chat line. He says, we asked the same thing about TCU against Michigan. Yes, they have a shot. Will not underestimate them. Gamecock Ryan checking in. Always appreciate Gamecock Ryan and his support. He says it feels like a back and forth, high scoring game. That's what I want to see anyway. Agreed, Ryan. Hope so, man. Hope it's a great game. We'll talk about that and we'll close it out on the other side. We'll be right back.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs.
Founded by firemen with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell
On the home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
Start the new year in a new Chrysler or Jeep at Galliana Chrysler Jeep on Greystone with zip, zero, nothing down, and zero payments for the next 3 months. Lease a 2022 Jeep Compass with zero down, just $379 per month. That's right, a new Jeep Compass for $379 per month with zero down. Plus, get a $7,500 tax rebate when you lease a new Grand Cherokee, Wrangler, or Chrysler Pacifica Hybrid. And you can still custom order the exact Jeep you want for just $1 down and $1,000 below MSRP. And don't forget, Galliana Chrysler Jeep will take any trade in any condition, even if it's rusted, busted, or can't be trusted. So if you're interested in buying a new Chrysler or Jeep with zip, zero, nothing down, and zero payments for the next 3 months, gotta go to Galliana. Start something new sales event at Galliana Chrysler Jeep on Greystone. I-126 Zoo Exit in Columbia. Call 779-7300 or GallianaSC.com. Compass stock number 29130. 42-month lease, zero due at signing. No security deposit, subject to lender approval. Offers don't combine, expires month end.
Hello, I'm Roy Finley.
And I'm Dana Finley, owners of AAA Heating and Air.
South Carolina's crazy weather is hard on your HVAC system. If your unit is living on borrowed time, replace it now with AAA's best deal of the year.
AAA Heating and Air will give you an instant rebate of $1,500 plus 0% financing with no money down and a 15-year parts and labor warranty.
This offer is for a limited time. Get 15 years of worry-free operation. A $1,500 savings with 0% financing with no money down for qualified buyers. Call AAA today at 677-1500.
That's a $1,500 rebate, 0% financing, no money down. Call AAA today at 677-1500.
Like the weather, this offer won't last. Call today and we'll install your new unit tomorrow. Call 677-1500. That's 677-1500.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now, but I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WIN for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code WIN for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code WIN.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs.
Founded by firemen with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell
On the home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
All right, let's close this thing out. One final segment of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Preston, you with us? You want to talk about the national title game?
What I missed so far?
Not much. We just been talking about random players for 45 minutes.
That's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, playing the game. I did want to go jump in the weeds here, man, on this game and talk about, because I think you are very well positioned to answer this question that maybe 95% of our listeners don't care about. But as a football nerd, I want to talk to you about the 3-3-5 defense.
Oh, man.
Because you played in the 3-3-5, right?
Man, the 3-3-5 is the only reason, well, not the only reason, but the predominant reason how I got to the University of South Carolina.
Really?
Yeah, so let's do it.
Okay, first, explain that.
Okay.
You were a perfect fit for the 3-3-5?
So I was a perfect fit. So obviously many of you all may or not never seen me in person, but I'm undersized for what you would think a typical SEC defensive lineman would look. So I'm about 6 feet tall. When I played, I was about 275, 280. But I was playing nose guard in the 3-3-5, which is really dependent on a lot of movement up front from your up front guys. And so I was playing a zero technique, which is head up on the center. And pretty much every play, you're sort of slicing and dicing, going left and right, trying to create havoc for the offensive lineman. So Charlie Strong at the time was one of the foremost sort of purveyors of that defense at the time. And the reason why they moved to that defense because they did not have a bunch of big defensive linemen. You know, Cleveland Pinckney was previous to me, Langston Moore in the same sort of build, Cecil Caldwell, those guys who are tremendous football players, but weren't what you would say were what you would, I guess, grade out as. They weren't John Hendersons or Marcus Strouds or Richard Seymour, those type of dudes. And so in the 3-3-5, it allows your interior linemen to move from side to side a lot more.
So going into TCU and Michigan, there was a lot of talk about, Michigan's just going to mash these guys. And, their quarterback even made a comment basically saying, we're going to hit them in the mouth and we're going to run the football. And I think there was a sense of going in, this Big Ten style of ball, getting under center, that was going to win out over the 3-3-5. Look, on paper, it feels to me like that made sense. However, in the game, we saw TCU hang in there, play pretty. I don't know the numbers. They played pretty well against the run, obviously. They created some negative plays. And I remember watching those defenses here at Carolina as, I guess I would have been a high schooler. And it just always felt like it allowed y'all to be so active across the board, not just up front. Linebackers, you had the Spurs.
Which is kind of the key to the whole thing.
Spur position. I guess Rashad Faison.
The greatest.
Yeah. Coming from every direction. And it works for TCU. Can Georgia and that big O-line tonight, just lean on TCU a little bit and run the football? Or can TCU once again be a hair quicker than their opponent and make things difficult on the Bulldogs?
They will not be able to be quicker than Georgia. So Georgia's used to seeing teams with that type of speed up front. But since they play in the SEC, they also have the dudes with the size too. It works against, and you can even go back to way back when we played Ohio State in those bowl games. It was the same sort of similar scenario. They were going to try and line up I formation, pound the little guys, and basically we were just going to move around and frustrate them enough to that point. That formula still holds as you saw against Michigan, but the problem is Georgia's used to fast guys also, and their guys are faster also. So I think that's probably going to meet the limit of where that 3-3-5 would be successful against Georgia.
Got a prediction for the game?
Yeah, I think I predicted 35-21, but I'm somewhere in the 14-ish points range. Obviously Georgia, and if you listen to the show, you know my brother's a Georgia fan, so I got to call him here pretty shortly.
Where is his head at going into the game? They just got one last year, Preston.
Yeah, so he just needed to get over the hump. He's a lifetime Georgia fan. We only declared a peace treaty when I was playing at South Carolina.
Okay.
And after that, it was back on. But lifetime Georgia fan. He feels good about the game, but he kind of leans into like the team of destiny type of things, and he doesn't necessarily love playing against this particular TCU team. Tyler, you might be able to answer this, but until last year, it seemed like Georgia fans were always not waiting for the shoe to drop, but they're always a little nervous.
Yeah, you're nervous waiting for something to go wrong. And, obviously before last year, the previous national championship appearance, it all fell apart there at the end with, 2nd and 26 or 3rd and 26, sorry. But yeah, after winning it last year, I guess there's more of a calming sense, still nervous about playing, again, that team of destiny, team that has magic on their side. But I don't know. I feel better about it than I did last year.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing my brother feels. They feel fine, but probably would have preferred to play Michigan again.
Yeah,
and just beat them
a
up.
team that you knew you beat pretty well last year.
Yeah, I think that's what he would have preferred.
Max Duggan's a dude. He's a winner. He finds a way. As I talked about on the show earlier, I think they hang around for 2, maybe even 3 quarters, and Dogs win 48-31. But TCU, I don't think TCU gets blown out by any means.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Tyler, a Georgia fan, and Tyler, see, I feel like if you go into halftime tonight and you're still looking around like, oh man, this game's close, and then the clock starts ticking away in the third quarter, TCU's still hanging around. See, that's where I maybe go the other way. If TCU hangs around that long, I maybe like their chances to pull the upset. I think this is a game, if you're Georgia, if you have a chance, maybe this goes without saying, but if you have a chance to bury them early, you got to go ahead and bury them, because it feels like TCU is that team. If they keep hanging on, and then they're able to put the ball in their quarterback's hands at the end, that's maybe the scenario where I like the upset.
That's why you play the game.
Yes, how excited are you for the game, Tyler?
Oh, I'm super excited. Just not as, I guess, nervous as I was this time a year ago.
Yeah, that's the same sense I get from my brother. That's the same sense. It's like, yeah, I'm excited, fairly confident going into this one as opposed to last year and all the other years previous, which is weird because being a South Carolina fan, we're really waiting for other shoe to drop, and Georgia fans are like, oh man, we're only gonna have to win 9 games this year. It's only 10 games.
Such a tough life.
It's just so hard being a Bulldog fan. But it's all right.
It is. All right, y'all. We are out of time for Preston, for Tyler, for Chris. I am Wes Mitchell. Appreciate y'all joining us. We'll all be tuned in tonight to find out, can Georgia win a second one in a row, or is TCU a team of destiny? We'll talk about that and more tomorrow. We'll be right back, 11 a.m., Gamecock Central Takeover. Y'all have a good one.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia, your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game, a Cumulus media station.
Ramjack Foundation Repair specializes in one thing: